my beautiful connection. I am so happy that you are here to join me at Meet the Experts. Today, we have a very special nurse. She has been a holistic nurse and a nurse entrepreneur and nurse informatics, and she is coming on stage to share her light and love with you. Let's welcome her, Patricia Daiker. Welcome in, Patricia.
Hi, Casey. Thanks for having me. Really happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so privileged and honored to have you here. Are you ready?
I am ready. I have all the answers.
Okay, so I'm just gonna ask rapid fire questions. What is one piece of advice you would give to your younger self to help you thrive in nursing?
So, two things come to mind. One is sleep more. I think back in the day,
Mm.
I could handle at both ends. And I think the other thing I would say is you don't have to prove yourself. I know when I was a young nurse, I tried really hard to show everybody I knew what I was talking about and did probably more than my fair share. And it started that sort of practice of burnout where you just go too hard and you're really trying to show the world that you are competent. But I think acting that tough or trying to put on airs that you have it all can also put you in a place where you miss out opportunities for people to help you a little bit more.
That's true. If you had unlimited money and time to solve healthcare problems, what's the first big change you would make?
This is easy. I would incorporate much more holistic care. So I'm personally and professionally a big believer that uh, we are more than pieces and parts that are plugged together, and we just need pills and things to sort of pills and procedures to put all the parts back together. I think understanding that we have emotional needs, spiritual needs, financial needs, relationship needs. We're so complex creatures, and so I would love to see the future of healthcare really be aligned around the person's needs, including their body, but far more.
Absolutely beautiful. If you were standing in front of 100 new graduates, nurses, what key advice would you share to set them up for success?
Two things. So one is work on the floor. I
Mhm.
was a floor nurse when I first started. My first 2 years taught me more than anything I've learned. I've been a nurse for 40 years now, and I still remember how good I got at delivering care, prioritizing, making sure if I was walking down that hall, I had everything I needed, I'd thought ahead, and those skills really served me in other places where I maybe only had two patients or it was a different workload. But that sort of fundamental hospital-based acute patient care was really life-changing for me. And the other thing I would say, and this is my mission, is stop using the word "my patients." This is my own personal pet peeve. They are people. They don't belong to you. And the word patient somehow puts a person with this label. They become sort of this inanimate object. Oh, they are a patient. Actually, they're a human and they have a really deep story. And I think sometimes we're like, oh, my patient's this, my patient's that. I would love to talk about the people you care for versus the patients that I'm dealing with, right? It's just a different feel.
Very interesting take. Okay, as a healthcare professional who has walked through your own health challenges, what guidance would you give to a nurse who's going through a disease process or a healing journey?
Yeah, yeah. So if you've Googled me at all, you know that I live with type 1 diabetes. I was diagnosed when I was 26, so while I was an ER nurse. And I really thought I knew diabetes. I really thought I had it down.
Mhm.
And, the universe, God, whomever said, I'm going to show you a thing or two. And so I got to be on the other side of healthcare. I have been this whole time. And it's been a very healing journey. So the things that I would tell a person going through this journey is trust yourself. So I really thought it was supposed to be the way it was in the books, that you just ate the right food, took the right meds, and then everything was fine. Oh my gosh, no. There were so many things going on inside of me that I didn't trust because that wasn't the framework that I'd been taught. So trust yourself, speak up and advocate, especially if you're dealing with a health journey. If something doesn't feel right, trust yourself, because you know you're the only one that's ever been in there with you your whole life, right? So you know that it's not okay. And then this is in my coaching practice when I work with people with diabetes. This applies to nurses as well. Is practice persistence, not perfection. So I can't be perfect every day. My glucoses are not 100% in range all the time. It's absolutely impossible almost. But I persistently do the best I can each day. And sometimes my looks different, but I do it every day. I persistently get up, and I always make the baseball analogy. I get up to bat. I look to see, like, what kind of, who's on what bases, what's the wind look like, and I play the game. Now I don't always get a home run, right? Like that's,
Mhm. Yeah.
but I can win at persistence, which keeps me going. If I fail every day, it just gets overwhelming. So that just do today and do your best, and tomorrow, lather, rinse, repeat.
What a nice approach to just life. Like, do the best you can every day.
Yep. Yeah. And literally the skills, the things that I've learned in my coaching practice, I really don't deal with glucose, insulin, meals, diet. I really talk about how to live well when part of your body doesn't work well. And there's a lot of emotional baggage on there. But all the skills that are really helpful for a diabetes journey and any chronic illness journey, any type, they're good
Mhm.
for life, right? It's just good, holistic taking care of you as a whole person.
Wow, so powerful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well,
How would you like your nursing legacy to be remembered?
so I think I already hinted at it a little bit. I would love for people to think that I was a nurse who turned patients into people and brought a human to every interaction you have. And I can share a really quick story. It was when I was working in ICU, and you have two patients, they're on ventilators, they're sedated, you're managing all the drips. It can be very technical. And this one family brought in a picture of grandpa, their dad, and put it at the head of the bed. And there he was, happy, smiling with his family around. And it just changed that patient I was taking care of, because he was animated, he was live, he was so much more than just the drips and the things I was tending to. So I would love if somehow through what I do with people with diabetes or any of the things, this holistic nurse coaching, that we start seeing again, treating people, not just patients.
Yes. And I just want to chime in there because sometimes when you see your patients, how they look before the disease process, you would pass them straight on the street. You would not recognize them. Sometimes, even, you just take an elderly person and give them a little dehydration,
Yeah, yeah,
like they're on death's door and you don't even recognize them.
yeah.
Check them in a nursing home or assisted living later, you would miss them. So they are people. I love this.
Yeah, and you connect differently than, and yes, we have to pass pills and change IVs and do all the things we have to do. And one of my big favorite holistic sort of things is big capital A and,
Mm.
and take a moment just to notice, right? Just to ask them a question about something while we're doing whatever we're doing. And I'm not saying that nurses need to take more on. It's it's when you have time, it's your approach, and it gives you more energy. I'll just tell you that it's a lot more uplifting to kind of interact with a human than just another source of things to do,
It
right?
is.
Different mindset.
It is. And I know you're into informatics and you do something very special and we're going to
Yeah,
get there. But
yeah,
because we have a little bit of time, I just want to go in on this because it's on my heart. I,
yes.
I have not heard anybody really talk about this, but I see like where we're going in the future, especially with AI handling a lot of, some of the things that bog nurses down right now. I'm just thinking, how wonderful would it be if on someone's screen or, in a nursing home, you have like a little snapshot of who this person was and what they did and some pictures. I mean, it sounds like a lot of work, but in a few years, that's going to be very easy to do with
Yeah,
technology.
yeah. I can share two stories. My mom was in extended care for quite some time, and we have pictures all over of her in her glory. And then my brother was in a really bad car accident and was in the hospital for quite some time. And he's one of those guys, if you go ask the ER nurses, they would have never thought he would have made it out of there. And he's one of the miracles. But I created a poster board, and he's a pilot. He's a captain of a 777. There he is with his hat on, flying a big, giant plane. And there he is, like water skiing and with his family. And I'm like, that's the energy that we wanted to bring to his healing, not the broken person who needed. We wanted that life force, right? You see that, and it changes the energy in the room. Like, that's all I can tell you. And so it would be cool if healthcare did it. And if you're out there and you're one of your family members, bring in pictures, put them up everywhere so that it does create connection. You can't help yourself if you see some picture like, oh my gosh, look at that.
I know, and this show is mainly for LinkedIn. So maybe somebody's watching this and they say, hey, maybe they want to turn it into a business,
Sure.
Create some digital moments so that every patient comes in, you could know a little bit of them.
Yeah, it just makes the energy between you is different than if they are sort of laying there with a hospital gown and they don't have their lipstick on and their hair is not good. We look different.
Yes. And for some weird reason, I took care of a lot of doctors in my lifetime. And, they always had to feel like they had to explain themselves. But if everyone kind of had something that explained who they are, they don't feel like, well, I'm not just a person. Take me seriously,
Right.
I just love this. I can go on a tangent, but I just wanted to talk about it because I don't hear about it very much. Okay, back to my question.
Yes, your question.
What advice would you give to a nurse who wants to step into business and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, boy, this could be a whole episode. I decided to keep this question brief. First of all, we've all done care plans. Yes. Do a business plan. Get your ducks in a row. Understand what it is you really need. I've done both ways, right? Where you just kind of fly in, you jump in, and don't lose your passion, right? If you have passion, go start however. Yeah. But that would be one, is just have a plan, and two, let people help you, right? Mm-hmm. I think as we often tend to be sort of, I got this, we're used to creating our own work and taking care of people, and we'll call for friends if we need, hey, I need help in this room, whatever. But I would say that's a broad swipe that a lot of nurses were like, I got this, I could do it myself. In business, let all the people help you. Even get a partner, somebody else that can soften and help you make decisions. It's hard to make those decisions by yourself a lot of times. And the third thing I would say is plan for failure. We don't think it's not going to work, right? But I mean, I don't know, like your first IV, maybe you didn't get it. When kids are learning to walk, they fall down, riding a bike, driving a car, all those things, right? We never get it right out of the gate. And I've had some disappointments where you thought you had everything really well planned. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you a real quick story, and I didn't plan for this. So this is one of the things I created a video education series. So I actually went and took acting lessons and in a studio and created this video education about diabetes wellness with the intent to sell this to employers, because I really thought people that live with diabetes often are healthy. They're working, they're out there, right? And there's a lot of them, especially with type 2. Anyway, so I was really focused on employers. And so here's what we did. I had a marketing team, I had a plan, and we went to market February of 2020. And then COVID hit. And no one cared. Like the people that were in HR at these employers are like, oh my gosh, how do I get people on Zoom calls? How do I create? Oh, there were so many things. And so we tried to pivot, it's like, okay, well, people with diabetes are really at high risk. A lot of my content is about how do you cope? How do you deal with it when it feels impossible? So we tried that, so we tried to pivot, but I never saw that, nor did I plan for, what if this plan doesn't go well, right? So you don't have to plan for catastrophic failure, but kind of know, like, okay, if this doesn't go, then what?
And in business, they say fail and fail fast. And as nurses, we don't like to fail. Mm-hmm. Failure is like terrible. You can kill someone. Right. But in business, you have to fail because that's actually how you learn. So
Yes.
yeah, thank you for sharing that story. Thank
Yeah.
you. So I wanted to ask you, because you are an entrepreneur, but then you also still hold a clinical position in
Mhm.
nurse informatics. And I
Yep.
think you said you're the only nurse, you're the only nurse working on your team.
Yep.
So I wanted to ask, you work with a lot of data engineers. What is one key message you would share with digital experts who are trying to support healthcare through new technologies?
So I could rant on this one, so I'm going to try to rein myself in here. So interoperability is broken, right? So back when I started in healthcare IT back in 2000, so I've been doing this for 25 years. So even before meaningful use and a lot of all this stuff that happened, um, we said, hey, we're going to structure all this data and we'll be able to share it among people. And then everybody will have all the records. And
Mhm.
one would think that that would be easy. And
Mhm.
here we are, 15, 20 years later, and we're still, when we share things, we get problem lists with all, if you look at my problem list, I look like I'm dead because,
Wow.
right, there's just, well,
Yeah,
there's stuff, like there's
there's
all
a
kinds
lot.
of things,
Yeah.
right? And so then it gets shared to somebody else. So for example, this is a real use case. Somewhere, sometime, somehow, some person said type 2 diabetes instead of type 1. So my records are everywhere and they kind of sprawl out. They're very, very spider webby how these things get shared. It goes from doctor to hospital, that hospital to another provider, right? That's very distributed via like a spider web.
Mm-hmm.
So my type 2 diabetes is everywhere. I can't get it out,
Oh.
right? And so it's on there one time and you see all my type 1 diagnosis. And so if you look at my records, you can figure it out. But because these systems are created with the different vendors,
Mm-hmm.
within those vendors, we have hospital people who are creating tickets. So they get a work order to do a thing and they do the thing and they turn it. And then that stuff goes out. It goes outside of the walls of the hospital. And we would think it's like, oh, it's really easy. That happened here, that happened there. So
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually what my company is really, that's what I'm passionate about, is how do we take the data and turn it back into a human story. So I'm doing a byline right now called the patient story. How do we take all this information about a person and turn it into not just a list of problems and meds and things to be fixed, but all the nuances that are in their record about fatigue over time, right? Fatigue always is a precursor, in my opinion, to chronic disease. Nobody just shows up with chronic disease one day and they're like, I felt fine. And then
Mm-hmm.
the next day I had a chronic illness. It's always like, man, I was tired, right? Well,
Yeah.
that's not a billable diagnosis, but it's buried in the notes. So I think
Mm.
that's one thing with IT is that being able to really move things around and understand despite the variability. And I will add another call to action, and this is to everybody who designs and uses and works with electronic medical records. They have become management tools. So people put stuff in an electronic record to make the nurse answer a question, to think about a thing, to make sure our quality metrics are good,
Mm-hmm.
which is not in itself bad, but they've become these data collection tools that sometimes I don't know how beneficial they are to the bedside nurse or the doctor or the people trying to get them. And so again, just I've been doing this for a really long time, and people are like, let's make the nurse answer this question now, like put it in there, hard stop. And what
Yes.
the truth of what happens if you don't have the answer, you put something in so you can get past it because you got stuff to do,
Exactly.
right? And
Yeah.
now that lives in somebody's record forever. So it seems like it would be a great way to sort of make sure it's all neat and tidy, but
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes we create things inadvertently that maybe we wouldn't have written down had we not had to answer the question.
Mm, mm. And I know we could talk about this because this is a big pain point, and I think it's about to change with all the new technologies coming on. But
Yep.
this is a big pain point because nurses, it's always in the attempt to help the nurse at the bedside, and usually the nurse at the bedside is cursing high heavens for
Yeah.
whoever created this thing
Yeah.
because it makes their life so hard and it actually takes them away from patient care.
Yes, 100%. And every time you add another step between my idea of what I want to do and me executing on that task, you create another potential point of failure. So
Mhm.
if I just look at the med sheet and I verify it and I give you a pill, that's one thing. If there's 17 steps, then I have to get the thing in a different device, and that there's a lot of different steps. Now there's 17 places where, and I'm exaggerating, but
Yeah.
it there's this balance between the benefit of these systems and then in theory it really should work, but people work around it because it doesn't work right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah, but it's the world we live in. I'm not trying to be critical, but I would love to make that better.
Yes, and this is why I bring it up because I'm so proud of you operating in a space where you are the only nurse. And a lot of nurses, I really hope that we can pivot into these spaces where we can really help lead and spearhead the technology for our fellow nurses.
Yeah,
So,
it's informatics has been fun. It's been great because I was 15 years bedside and 10 in the ER, and I just was ready for something new. And I had been diagnosed with diabetes. Not that that wasn't that I couldn't work in the ER because of that, but it really made me take account of where do I want to be in 5 or 10 years? And this informatics stuff really excited me. So um, it was fun to start, so many years ago, and working with these engineers who had no idea of clinical anything. Some of the stories we would tell would make them blush a million shades of
I love it. I love it. I love the intersection. That's
yeah,
awesome. Well, and now you're informatics, you're an
yeah,
entrepreneur, but you're a holistic nurse. I love this. You're
yeah,
actually featured on Insight Timer as one
yeah.
of the teachers, which I'm incredibly proud of you to
Oh,
see a
thank
nurse on that platform. Incredibly proud. So, from your perspective as a holistic nurse and as an educator on Insight Timer, what is the most effective way you would recommend to help staff who are burnt out?
yes. So again, this kind of comes back to my diabetes. I'll tell you a quick story about holistic nursing is that I struggled to do diabetes perfectly because I had the care plan in my head and I couldn't execute and I was failing. Over many, many years, I started figuring out that I needed coping skills. I didn't need perfection. I needed to figure out how to live in a world where I couldn't get off. I'm never going to get out of this. I don't think
Mhm.
about that. Maybe there's a cure someday, but I don't think about that. But so you're in a place that you don't want to be and you're stuck. Imagine if COVID never got over, if we were trapped at home, we didn't want to be there, we didn't like it, we had so many things restricted. To me, that's what diabetes felt like. I got stuck and there is no way out. So I had to find ways to make peace in my life.
Mhm.
I could talk about a billion things, but that's how I found a lot of the things I found I thought I made up. I'm like, nobody's talking about this. What the heck? I must have discovered something. And then I found holistic nursing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a subspecialty of nursing that already knows what I think I figured out. So, all that to say, the thing that has been probably, especially with nurses, that because it's easy to grasp, is
Mhm.
nervous system regulation. We
Mhm.
live in a state of fight or flight, and you are a different human being when
Mhm.
you are in fight or flight than when you're, sympathetic versus parasympathetic. Cortisol levels, hormone levels, the proteins that you're making, your blood pressure, your vital signs, your energy. When you are in fight or flight, your digestion goes offline, your immune system goes, they take the back seat, and we are very reactive.
Mhm.
We all know fight or flight. You step on a Lego, someone gets in front of you, car cuts you off. It's
Mhm.
reactive. That that is hard to do, but nurses find themselves because you're constantly being interrupted and right, you have to recalibrate. Most of those decisions are very short term. And so we're thinking on our feet, which we have to.
Mhm.
And I'll just say it when you're stuck in that fight or flight, it burns so much of your resources. It is just draining your battery exponentially. So learning how to take moments to get into a parasympathetic state and there's just a couple things you could do. The easy ones are breath, Put your hand over your heart, which stimulates your vagus nerve, right? So your vagus nerve is your face, your chest, and your belly, your vulnerable places. Touching that can stimulate that nerve. Taking a breath, the stretch receptors in your thoracic cavity, right? We slow down, heart rate drops, blood pressure drops, and we just say, I'm okay. And then the words I say after that, even though there's more work today than I can get done in this moment right now, I'm okay. I choose okay, right? And maybe it's 2 minutes while you go to the bathroom. And I know we never get enough bathrooms, but if we consciously take a few minutes every once in a while to take a break from fight or flight, right? That taking a break is filling up your cup a little bit. And I have just found, there are times when my blood sugar is 44, I'm not okay. That is not the time to be, like, oh, taking the breath.
It's
I,
not even the dose.
I do what I do, right? But if I'm nervous about something, if I'm frustrated, if, work's not going the way, my lovely engineers don't understand the clinical point I'm trying to make,
Yes.
right? I have to remember that the lights are on, I'm in air conditioning, I have a job. Like, I will go to bed tonight and put my head on a pillow and breathe and slow down. I'm okay, right? And that okay, when you do that in your mind, it's sending a signal to every cell, billions and billions of cells in your body, that it's okay. Because otherwise, the cells in your body are hearing, oh my God, what are we going to do? And she said this, and he did that. And right, like that's the message. And it doesn't just happen in your head, it happens in your body. And so those moments of reprieve are the most powerful things. And it's biology. So it might sound woo woo, but it literally is founded in good, solid biology.
It is, and it really does work, Patricia. And I love the saying that you just said. You said you put your hand over and you said, even though I have more work than I'm able to do right now, I'm okay.
Yeah, even though, right? So even though, so what we often try to do is pretend it's not there. Well, that's not, it's no. Or we blame or we get mad or it gets external, right? This is acknowledging the external without changing it, because when we want the external to change, then we lose our power. But I want my internal landscape, right? So even though that's all crazy out there,
Yes.
I'm going to take a break.
This is so practical because I don't like to tell people cliches and things that sounds nice in theory, but in practice you cannot do. And I'm just thinking, as a nurse, whether you work in an office setting or you work on the floor, and you and your coworkers, everybody is, we're so mad about this thing. How dare them? How could they do this? We could be the voice that says, okay, let's take a break, just 1 minute, 30 seconds. Even though this and this, you're not negating what's happening. Even though this is happening, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And feelings hurt. And that can switch the whole atmosphere.
Yeah. And you will have a different answer in your sympathetic state versus your parasympathetic state. And I would say too, it works for patients, right? Just sometimes touching, putting a hand skin to skin contact is nice, having them take a deep breath. We all take deep breaths naturally, like, okay, I'm going to go do this, right? To give ourselves that confidence. So it's built-in wiring. It's how the body's supposed to work. And our bodies are supposed to be in parasympathetic most of the time. And we say fight or flight for danger. We've forgotten that in our modern world. That is out the window.
Switch it back.
Yeah.
This is excellent. Thank you for
Just like
sharing.
yes. And so one of the things, and again, on my Insight Timer, we're talking a lot about rhythms. There's a time to be in fight or flight, and then we have to balance it, right? There's a time to exhale, there's a time to inhale. We contract, we relax, all of that stuff. And these nervous system states deserve the same.
Yes, they do. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, we can't be zen all day, but we can't be stressed all day either. Perfect thought.
You got to find a moment.
We have to find a moment, and a lot of times I think as holistic nurses or nurse coaches, we can bring that moment into any environment that we're in. This is excellent. Now, Patricia, I know you are really good with truly living up to that holistic just a holistic approach to life. And we talked about this a little bit, but I wanted to ask you about financial decisions that you have made. Because sometimes you've been a nurse for 40 years, and sometimes at the end of a nurse's career, they find themselves in really, they did not make the right choices. So, as we're looking at nurses who are coming into this profession, who are now starting, can you share some of what financial decisions that you made that set you up for later in life?
Yes. So take the free money. So if they're matching, if your employer matches, max that out and take what they're giving you. It's free money, right? And it's yours. And so that is, especially when you first start, your earning potential when you're creating that nest egg at the beginning. And I used to fight on this because I wanted to buy new clothes to go out, or I wanted to spend my money, right? I finally was out of college and all of that. But take the free money, take it. Like they have matching, do that. The other thing is pay yourself first. So when you're doing your budget, decide on an amount, and when you're paying your bills, make yourself a bill. I'm the bill. $200, $100, whatever that is. When you're writing out your bills, some of yours goes back. There was a time in my life where I had a car payment, and when I got done paying off the car, I just kept making those payments to myself, because I already had it like accounted for. I wasn't missing it, so I just kept going that way. And the other thing is, if you are able, buy property. So I bought a home when I was 26, I think, and really it was because my rent and the house payment were about the same. And anyway, that has turned out to be a very good decision. Just for me, property has been sort of recession proof, right? It stands the test of time. I know that's not every place, that's not available for everyone, but if you can, that was a good investment strategy for me.
I just wanted to clarify, because a lot of people say pay yourself first, and people do pay themselves first. And then what do you do with that money when you say pay yourself first?
So it goes a couple of different ways. I've had different things. One, have your checking account and your savings account. I had a separate savings account that I would pay into that I would not touch. And so it just accumulated wealth. And then as I started getting enough, then I would put it in mutual funds, right? I had a financial advisor. So those things would go into larger portfolio investments. Because it's kind of hard to get that money saved up. If somebody's like, hey, $5,000, you're like, oh my gosh. But if you're just constantly putting it in there and you don't think about it, all of a sudden you look at your bank account and you're like, oh my gosh, look at that. And so that might be for a rainy day. It might be, if you do want to buy property, a car, or something, you've got a little down payment saved up, a lot of different things, but it's good not to be living paycheck to paycheck.
Yes, I love it. And I often tell my friends, they say, you don't just leave it sitting in the bank, not making any interest. Look at the interest, because you have the FDIC protected high yield savings account where you can, have it just growing something,
Yes. Many options.
Yes. But not just go on a shopping spree. You could do that, but
that's fine.
Every once in a while, but invest. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Last question for you, Patricia. What excites you the most about the future of nursing? When you think about what role do you see yourself, what role do you see nurses playing in shaping the future of healthcare and the transformation of healthcare?
Yeah. So I don't think you'll be surprised with this one, but right, it's that humanizing the healthcare and being an advocate for people. I know that we do that by nature anyway, but I feel like the future, where we're at right now, what I see is people who need care get less and less of your time. And so how do we empower them? And so now I'm kind of flipping the script back on as a person who is a consumer of healthcare, right? Empower me, right? Empower me so that I can make good choices that there's something, and again, it comes back to that patient versus person. A patient is a recipient of care, and therefore they're down here. You're the giver, they're the recipient, right? So in my coaching and working with people, I'm like, we need to switch that around. You need to be the hub of your life. And then you're working with all your care providers and you're telling them what you need. And they know you, right? So it's often, again, I can say this again as a patient. Sometimes I just tell the doctors I've had, they haven't all been great. I told them what I needed to get what I needed and get out of there because the system was yucky, right? I've got some really good folks now, and we talk about what I need, not what they need for their metrics. And I will kind of advocate, like, I know you have to ask me those questions, but right now, when I leave today, I need these things to walk out of here feeling really good about my engagement with you today. And they do that for me because I'm like, this is what I need. Most people, like, think about if a patient said, hey, nurse, I really need this. Like, if you knew they needed it, it helps you organize your care or give an alternative, right? So the more that we can empower people, because I just feel like the system has really shut people down. And again, I think that it's not a system reform. It's almost like a grassroots. People seeking care, like me, and then the people who are doing it. If you just see people as humans, you will change how you engage. And I think that has a ripple effect.
I think you're mentioning something that is really important here. And this is not just for people who are in healthcare, this is for just any person. If you first see yourself as a person, when you go into an office, you're sitting there, you're waiting in the doctor's office, maybe you're not feeling well. The doctors or the nurse practitioner, they have an intention to do something with you, right? Or do something for you. You as a person, you can have an intention of what you want to be done. I want to understand what's going on with me. I want to understand what's my next steps. Because sometimes the visit goes so quickly, especially now, the visits are going to be faster with all the changes in healthcare, that you walk out and you're like, what just happened?
Right. So yeah, in my coaching, when I work with folks, that's one of the things we do is how to have a doctor visit. And you come in with a written list of what you want and all the things they're going to ask, your meds list, all those things, you write them down so that they can see that there's a couple things, right? That for most of us, if it's kind of routine chronic, there's things that we know that are going to be asked. Make that take 2 minutes. Here you go. Here's my stuff. Here's what you need to know. And here are the 3 things I want to walk out of here. Like, I need a prescription for X, whatever that looks like, right? Yes. And I'll end on this. Maybe this last thing is about communication, right? So it's hard to talk sometimes and say what you want because you don't want to come across as like uncaring, unkind, not informed. So you can think of 2 C's. When it comes to communication, use curiosity. So be curious. And curious has no expectation, no agenda, no requirements, no outcome. You just be curious. Okay, instead of like, I'm going to come in here and bulldoze this in, I'm curious, like, what are they going to do today? I'm curious about what I need today. It's just a softer way, and it's much more parasympathetic. Curiosity is open, expansive, it's playful sometimes, and it's just an easier approach to all things. So it would be I can maybe wrap up on that one. As we're communicating and interacting, curiosity is such a lovely way to go.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Now, this is amazing. The folks watching, they might say, wow, Patricia, I would love to coach with you. If they want to get in touch with you, how will they reach out to you? How will they connect with you?
Absolutely. So the easiest way is my website, and it's betterdiabeteslife.com, just like it says, betterdiabeteslife.com. From there, you can get to all my social media. I write a blog. I have my Insight Timer. Those are usually Thursday nights at 7 p. Central. They're free. Anybody can join. What else? I'm also in the middle of writing a book. So I just sent my first draft to an editor. So I'm excited about that. It's called Diabetes is a Narcissist. And that's a whole nother topic that we'll save for another day.
So you said betterdiabeteslife.com.
Yes.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we'll have when you publish your book, we'll have to definitely have you back. Thank you
Okay.
so much for being on our show. Thank you for sharing all this wonderful gems, tips. If you are not yet connected to Patricia, please do yourself a favor and connect with her. As always, we love having you. We love interacting. Now you see, I ask all the questions. So I asked Patricia all my questions and then some. Do you have any questions for Patricia? What would you like to know? Don't be shy, leave it down in the comments, and I will make sure that those questions get back to her so that she could connect with you and answer them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Patricia, for being here. Thank you, viewers, for joining us, and we'll see you next week, Sunday at 4 p.m. Meet the experts. Have a good one.
Bye.